In November 2006, the Kim family set out on a road trip to celebrate Thanksgiving with their family. Unfortunately, while on their way back home from their trip, they made a wrong turn that would change their lives forever. One wrong turn had turned this road trip into a nightmare and fight for survival. This is the Kim family tragedy. In November of 2006, the story of James Kim, a man destined for greatness, took a tragic turn. Born on August 9, 1971, James was a go-getter from the very start. After graduating from Ballard High School in Kentucky, he moved to Ohio and double majored in government and English at Oberlin College. James then made his way to California, where he became a TV star, reviewing products for popular shows like Screensavers and Fresh Gear. It was in California where James met the love of his life, Katie, when he was just 26 years old. After taking a road trip to Northern California with college friends, Katie couldn't resist James's charm. From that moment on, they were inseparable, and their love for each other was obvious to everyone around them. In 1999, James and Katie jetted off to Las Vegas to get married, solidifying their love for each other. A friend of the family, Michael Burke, described them as a couple with big dreams and a proactive attitude in making those dreams come true. They were a happy family with everything they ever wanted, and their joy was multiplied when they welcomed their first child, Penelope, in 2002, followed by Sabine in 2006. James, now 35 years old, was a devoted father to his two daughters, and his career in technology was flourishing. He had a passion for product reviews and worked for CNET, a popular media website. Together with Katie, they owned 2 shops in San Francisco, living what seemed like the perfect American dream. The Kim family had a memorable Thanksgiving with their extended family in Seattle. After a joyous holiday, James, his wife Katie, and their 2 children embarked on the journey back home to San Francisco on November 24, 2006. They made a quick stop in Portland, where Katie had lunch with a friend and then checked into a hotel for the night. As they discussed their travel plans, Katie suggested a change in their itinerary. Instead of driving all the way home in one day, she proposed they stay in Portland for part of the day, drive halfway, and then stay somewhere else for the night. James agreed, and they pulled out a road map to find a suitable spot between Portland and their home in San Francisco. They discovered a family-friendly lodge called 22 Ton, located near Gold Beach, and decided it would be their overnight stop. The Kim family left Portland later in the afternoon and started driving south. At around 9 p.m., they pulled off the road to get some late dinner at Denny's before hitting the road again. Little did they know that this meal at Denny's would be their last family meal together, and James would snap a photo from the diner window to capture the moment. They resumed their journey toward the 22 Ton Lodge, which was about a 2.5-hour drive away, following Highway 42 to the coast and then south. As James Kim, his wife Katie, and their 2 young children continued their journey back home from Portland, they were about 2 hours into their drive when James suddenly realized that he had missed their turn. They pulled over to the side of the road and looked at their map, only to realize that if they backtracked to the road they missed, it would add several hours to their trip. They were eager to get home and didn't want to waste more time on the road. James and Katie, known for their resourcefulness and adventurous spirit, decided to look for an alternative route on the map. They spotted a smaller road that seemed to connect to their intended route, and after a brief discussion, they decided to take it. The road seemed promising, and they thought it would be a shortcut to their destination. Despite missing their turn, the Kim family remained calm and decided to check their paper map for alternate routes. They spotted a small secondary road called Bear Camp Road that skirted the wild wilderness area of southwestern Oregon. Although the map warned that not all roads may be suitable in all conditions, the family didn't think too much of it and turned down Bear Camp Road. Unbeknownst to them, Bear Camp Road was not maintained in the winter and didn't get plowed. As they drove along the alternate route, with only their headlights illuminating the way forward, the rain slowly turned into snow and the temperature began to plummet in the dark. They passed 3 yellow warning signs that indicated Bear Camp Road may be blocked by snowdrifts, but they didn't heed the warning and continued on. They pushed for miles, hoping that on the next turn they would find a motel or a gas station, but nothing appeared. They soon realized they were driving to the edge of nowhere. They soon came to a fork in the road, and after checking the map, they believed that the right road was the correct one, as it appeared larger, less steep, and better paved. There was also a wide-open metal gate on the right road, which they took as an indication of the correct route. Little did they know that the left road was actually the correct one, leading to the coast, and the right road was a dead end. Despite the worsening weather conditions and the obscured road markings, they decided to take the right road, which appeared wider and better paved, with the large metal gate being wide open, indicating it was the correct route. However, unknown to them, the gate should have been closed during winter to prevent access. The road quickly became steeper, narrower, and covered in snow and ice, making it extremely challenging to navigate in their station wagon. They realized they couldn't turn around as the road became too tight. Panic set in as Katie tried to use their phone for help, only to discover there was no signal, rendering it useless. Their children cried in fear as they realized they were alone in the wilderness with no way of calling for assistance. They continued to follow the winding road, hoping to find a mobile phone signal or help along the way, but the sense of dread grew with each passing moment as they realized the severity of their situation. They were stranded in the middle of nowhere, in a desolate wilderness with no help in sight. With no clear sense of their location and dwindling gas in the tank, James and Katie realized that their only option was to reverse back the way they came. James carefully navigated the tight, winding road in reverse, his foot heavy on the accelerator. The hours ticked by, but the road seemed to stretch on endlessly. By 2 a.m., the car could go no further. Despite their attempts to use their cell phones, there was still no signal, and they were almost out of gas. They made the difficult decision to bunker down for the night, huddling together as a family, hoping for improved weather by morning. As the sun rose on Sunday, the 26th, casting its light on the majestic Oregon mountains, James and Katie realized the gravity of their situation. They had made a terrible mistake by taking the alternate route, and now they were stranded in the middle of nowhere. The bitter cold was almost unbearable, and their car was running on fumes with barely any gas left. To add to their woes, the heavy snowfall during the night had completely trapped their vehicle. With supplies running low, James and Katie searched through their belongings and found only a few meager provisions. A couple of lighters, a pack of baby crackers, a few snacks, and a couple of jars of baby food. It wasn't much, but it was all they had. They knew they had to ration their supplies carefully between their 4-year-old daughter Penelope and 7-month-old baby Sabine. On that first morning, the sun briefly peeked through the clouds, but it was short-lived as another blizzard hit. The family was forced to stay inside the car, turning on the engine every 15 minutes to keep warm. As darkness settled, they noticed movement in the darkness outside. When they turned on their headlights, they were shocked to see bears circling the car. James honked the horn throughout the night to scare them away. The next day, Monday the 27th, the weather was still terrible with heavy snowfall and howling winds. The family passed the time by playing games in the car and eating snacks. They were confident that someone would come to find them as they were expected back in San Francisco on Monday night. As evening approached, their friends back home began to worry. The blizzard continued all day on Tuesday the 28th, and the family experienced a third day of being completely trapped in the car. It wasn't until Wednesday the 29th that the blizzard finally let up, and James and Katie decided to venture out to stretch their legs. They melted snow for drinking water and foraged for berries in the wilderness, while the kids finished the remaining crackers and baby food. However, they soon realized that eating the berries could be risky due to the fear of being poisoned, so they had to stop. By the 30th, after 4 days of being trapped in the hostile environment, the car ran out of gas, leaving them with no source of heat. They resorted to burning magazines and any dry wood they could find in the vehicle to stay warm. The situation was dire, and they knew they needed help as soon as possible. They hoped and prayed for rescue. But with each passing day, their worries grew. On the 30th, James's colleagues grew increasingly concerned as he had not shown up for work. They immediately filed a missing persons report, triggering the largest extensive search and rescue operation in Oregon's history. The family's last known location was traced to a credit card transaction at Denny's. Local police, state police, and over 80 civilians, along with the Oregon Army and National Guard, deployed helicopters and scoured the wilderness for any sign of James, Katie, and their children. James's father also joined the search effort and organized 18 care packages filled with essential supplies like food, warmth, clothing, and heartfelt notes from him, urging them to hold on and stay strong. Despite the intensive search, no trace of the family could be found. The days dragged on, and by Friday, December 1st, James, Katie, and their children were enduring freezing temperatures, dehydration, and hunger. Driven by desperation, Katie breastfed her 7-month-old daughter, Sabine, and 4-year-old daughter, Penelope, on that fateful Friday. James, her husband, took all 4 tires off the car to set them on fire for warmth. Despite the initial relief, the tires burned out quickly, leaving them with no heat. As Saturday, December the 2nd approached, almost 1 week into their nightmare, James and Katie realized they had run out of supplies. The children were quiet and pale, and they knew they had to do something. After checking the map, James identified the town of Galice as being 4 miles away. He believed that he could make it there and call for help. Carrying only a flashlight, 2 lighters, and a backpack with miscellaneous items and identification, James set out into the bitter cold at approximately 7:45 a.m., wearing tennis shoes, light clothing, and a jacket. He assured Katie that he would return by 1 p.m. if he didn't find anyone. However, as nightfall descended, James had not returned, leaving Katie and the children anxiously waiting for his safe return. On December 4th, a helicopter pilot named John Ratcher was flying over the mountain range, guided by information from cell phone towers that helped narrow down the family's location. He spotted a pair of foot tracks in the snow and followed them back to the car where Katie and her daughters were staying. Although he couldn't stop the helicopter, he flew low enough to wave to Katie, letting her know that they had been found. John Ratcher immediately radioed in the family's position, and authorities were able to organize a rescue operation. Soon after, the family was airlifted to a nearby hospital for medical assistance. Although Katie and the kids were found, James was still missing. It was revealed that James had torn off pieces of his clothes as he trudged through the snow, possibly as markers for finding his way back. Katie and her children were eventually rescued, but to her horror, she realized that James had never made it to the town. After a search for James, his body was found on December 6th in Big Windy Creek, wearing the rest of his clothes and identified by the papers in his backpack. James had walked 16 miles and collapsed just a mile from Black Bear Lodge, succumbing to hypothermia 2 days after leaving his car. As the news of James's tragic passing spread, his actions were hailed as heroic. He had walked 16 miles through the freezing wilderness in a desperate attempt to find help for his family, leaving behind a trail of clothes as markers. His determination and selflessness in the face of extreme conditions were recognized and admired by many. This incident drew widespread attention, which led to investigations into people going missing in the wilderness to be improved. May James Kim rest in peace.